when I'm with you, there's no one else around. Yeah, I'm so high, gravity can't hold me down. Imagine faith and hope so alive. You got me feeling so good, 'cause baby, you're like the sun.
Welcome to Me, Myself, and Liberty. I'm Leslie Nesmith. I'm so glad you have joined me today. There's a lot to talk about. Did you see the Young Republicans controversy that took place last week? Well, I want to know what is going on in the party. This is crazy. If you haven't watched the breaking news segment that I did on Sunday, please take a look at that. It'll kind of shed some light on it. So I'm going to be talking to someone today who was present at the convention, and he was an observer. He's not a young Republican. I'm not saying he's an old Republican, but he's not a member of the Young Republicans. But he's certainly aware of the goings-on of the politics here in the state of Oklahoma. So he'll be able to maybe fill in some blanks for us. We'll see. Ferlin Kearns is joining me today. Also, two very important events I want to make sure that you get on your calendar. The Oklahoma Second Amendment Association is having a rally at the state capitol on November 1st, and this is to celebrate the new permitless carry law going into effect, so that's very exciting. Go to the OTUmedia page for more information. On December 10th is the Let Them Live rally. This is being put on by the Dave Green campaign. He is running for CD5. The rally is featuring Star Parker. She is an author, and you may have seen her on various programs on TV. If you don't know who she is, please look her up. She has an amazing story. The Let Them Live rally is a pro-life rally and very important, and it is going to be at OCCC, December 10th. Okay, I'll be right back with Ferlin Kearns.
So the next portion of our agenda tonight, now that we have rules, our elections of officers, we have the first up is state chair. Who is running for state chair? Who has a nomination?
I have a nomination for state chairs.
Okay.
I'd make a motion for a slate.
Second.
Slate of delegates.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I just made my motion.
Okay, you dropped your motion. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to vote for a slate of candidates. And we got a second over here, so Daniel Mavejas has.
Wouldn't that be a suspension of rules? We already suspended the rules, it's proper rules of order.
Yes. So Daniel Mavejas has made a motion to vote on a slate of candidates, and Molly Johnson has seconded that motion. All in favor of voting for a slate of candidates for the agenda that we have tonight, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we will vote on a slate. Does anyone have a slate to offer for state chair, state vice chair, national committee man, national committee woman, treasurer?
Hi, I'm Leslie Nesmith, host of Me, Myself, and Liberty, right here on OTUmedia. I'd like to ask you to go to www.patreon.com/OTUmedia to support us. By going to patreon.com, you are supporting everything that we do here at OTUmedia and Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. We are getting the word out, so join us. Welcome back. And as you can see, Ferlin Kearns has magically appeared. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so before we get into the whole Young Republicans controversy, I want to know about you. I want my audience to know who you are. So tell us about Ferlin. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Newton, Kansas. It's about 20 miles north of Wichita. Kansas, and I actually moved to Oklahoma in 1984, so I've been here most of my adult life, but I grew up in Kansas.
So you moved here when I was 9. Sorry. Didn't. All right.
Yeah, you had to point that out. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine.
Okay. So I also understand that you are a Harvard grad. Does that mean that you have some white privilege there, or what's going on?
I am a Harvard grad, and one of my finer achievements in life was going to Harvard. I obviously one of the finest business schools in the world, and one of the toughest business schools in the world. And when I was at Harvard, I was a great student, and a student at the finest business school in the world. But it wasn't always that way. And white privilege, I love that term being thrown around these days all the time. But I was a great student at Harvard, like I said, but it wasn't always that way. I wasn't always a great student. I spent many, many years drinking and flunking out of schools and going to jails. And I actually got a GED and I graduated from high school, but I got a GED compliments of the Oklahoma Department of Corrections.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have some friends that got some education there.
Yeah, fine place. And that was like 1997 or 8. And so it's been a long time. It's been over 20 years. But flunked out of Emporia State University my first year out of high school. I flunked out of Central State University is what they called it at the time, and what is UCO now, University of Central Oklahoma. So white privilege, that's
Maybe not so much.
Yeah, if you consider going to jail with having the privilege of going to jail.
You didn't get your portion, did you?
Yeah, going to jail with a bunch of white people, you can call that. So, but it was a long road. And what's interesting about Harvard, one of the most valuable, like I say, it was a business school. And one of the valuable lessons I learned there was one night I had a Syrian professor, an economics professor, and obviously he can't even go home. And it's slacked up a little bit now, but at the time he certainly couldn't go home. And we were walking across Harvard Yard, which is the oldest part of the Harvard campus, and we were talking about the TARP bailout.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a human relation lesson for me, because he was all about the TARP bailout from an economics perspective.
Yeah.
All the economists of the world thinks that was the right thing to do. And keep in mind, he's a Syrian. He's not from the United States. And he was explaining why he thought that, and we were just talking. And I said, well, that's fine, I understand that, but where in our Constitution would you point to that gives our government the right to bail out banks or insurance companies or private businesses? And I could tell by the look on his face, he had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking at this through the prism of the constitutionality of it. He was looking at the economics of it. And at that point, I realized just because somebody disagrees with me doesn't necessarily mean they're an evil person.
Yeah. Hey, what a great lesson, people out there. If somebody disagrees with you, it doesn't mean they hate you. You don't have to start, doing protests and, boycotting their business.
That's right. That's right.
So.
Great guy, great professor, brilliant mind. Why would you expect a economist from Syria to be a U.S. constitutional scholar?
Yeah. So, there's no reason to, and that's great.
A lot of that going on. We each have our own experiences and our strengths, and so sometimes it's not because they're mean or evil or bad people. They just may not have the knowledge we have, or we may not have the knowledge they have.
Yeah, exactly. So. I think that's a very good point in today. And we're going to talk about, like today's, what's happening in our politics and our state and how things are kind of divided right now. Okay, speaking of politics, so how did you get involved in politics?
I've been interested my whole life, and clear back, I used to have a transmission shop in Oklahoma City back in the early '90s, and Wes Watkins was running for governor. And I imagine, and I had a friend that was he was a lobbyist, so I kind of started running around, and this is when the Democrats were in power, back in the '90s. I ran around with him a little bit. I had another guy that was kind of a lobbyist, ran around with him a little bit, but then when Wes Watkins ran against Frank Keating, and the polls closed at 7 o'clock, and at 7:05 it was over. And we actually thought we were going to win.
Yeah.
And Wes Watkins had been a Democrat, and he changed to an independent. And I was a young kid, and back in those days, obviously, going to events to drink and party more than campaign. But that's kind of how it got started in the early '90s, was with that Wes Watkins running for governor. And he later turned to a Republican and ran for Congress and won that seat. So, but you look at the Democrats of the 1960s. Listen to John F. Kennedy YouTube videos.
Very, very different than
Sounds
today.
like we do.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to have permanent change, you got to lower the income tax permanently, corporate income tax permanently. That's John F. Kennedy views.
Yeah.
Sounds like me and Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of you and Trump, did we show the picture? I've got a picture. Okay. So I showed so the picture of you with President Trump. He wasn't president then, I know. So is that an actual picture?
That's an actual picture.
Okay, I had somebody say, "Oh, that looks like it's photoshopped." I was like, "No, I think that's an actual picture of him with him." And then with Ted Cruz, I think we showed that one too. So, yeah, so you've got some good company, good people surrounding you there. So, okay, let's see. I had one other question. Oh, shuffleboard champion. Are you a shuffleboard champion? Or do you play shuffleboard or something?
I do play shuffleboard, and just to keep things in perspective, right now I'm rated Mr. 162 in the world.
Oh, wow. How many shuffleboard players are there?
Oh, that rating book is about that thick, so there's a lot of them in there. Those I've won a lot of tournaments, but the guys that are really good, they'll play me for any amount of money any day, anywhere. So, if I won't run around town here going to a bar, I can probably beat anybody in there. But when I get around the really good players, not so good. But
well, that's really interesting.
Mr. 162 in the world.
Hey, well, there you go. My mom, after she and my dad divorced, she started playing darts just in her spare time. And she ended up being a dart champion. And she's a left-handed dart player, just a kind of an oddball thing that and she has trophies that could just cover this room. So, interesting. Okay, so what we are going to do is take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to get to the controversial stuff.
Great.
Okay? All right, we'll be right back.
Drives a truck. Visit cdluniversity.org. At CDL University, and another success, another one drives a truck. Hey, gonna help you too. Another one drives a
Dear Miller, CDL University. For some of you, it's already too late. You're standing over in a dirt field, waiting in line to back a truck, and it's been 3 weeks now. If you're gonna do this, do it right. Come to CDL University. Get your CDL.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go to LastAmericanPresident.com and say big right now in this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to LastAmericanPresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com. I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. And as you can see, I have Ferlin Kearns with me. And we are going to be talking about the Young Republicans Convention controversy. I want to know, okay, so you're a hair over 40. So you don't qualify like me. You know, I'm just a hair over 40.
Big, thick hair, yeah.
So you don't qualify to be a young Republican. But, so why were you there?
Well, as you know, like we talked about earlier, I've been around a long time and been involved in party politics, and I was just invited to come down. So I went. I had never been to a YR meeting. I've been to some of the college Republican meetings, and they invited me to go, so I went. And just to observe. Obviously, like you say, wasn't part of the meeting. And there were, I guess, me and 4 or 5 other people that were of my age or older. A little
older than 40.
Right.
Okay, so for the audience, we have there's all kinds of like posts and videos and information out there, and I encourage you to read all sides of it because this is a very confusing issue. If you get into all the bylaws and all that. So I encourage you to do your research on your own. So what did you observe? Tell me what it was like. So you arrive and what happens?
Well, everybody was just running around like they do at those meetings, chit-chatting. I got there probably 30 minutes earlier, and everybody was just chit-chatting. And I actually spoke with the 2 candidates that were running for chair. Mm-hmm. And
so for the audience,
Mr. Bloombaugh and Luke Harshaw,
yes.
however you say his name, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Great guys, both of them. And I talked to Matt, and he told me he was running, and I thought, you know, this is a sharp young man. And I talked to Luke, and I thought this is a sharp young man. And I had no idea how the election was going to go or
what you had walked
whose
into.
side I'm on, because like I say, I really didn't have a dog in the hunt. I didn't care who won. Both of those guys seemed like great guys, and I'm thinking either one of them would make a great chair. I had no idea that once we got in there, people were lining up on this side of the room, and that I had no idea about any of that. I just met these 2 young men and thought, you know, either one of them seemed like well-qualified candidates, and we'll take a vote and see what happens. And I think the one just kind of decided he was going to run, you know, 10 or 15 minutes before post time.
Okay.
So, but he told me he was running, and I thought, you know, either one of these guys would make a great candidate.
Okay. So did you observe anything beforehand? I know you said that people are just kind of running around, that kind of thing, because that's just how conventions are sometimes. Did you see anything? Did you hear anything that kind of started making you think maybe there's something not right, or maybe there's 2 sides kind of battling it out?
Yeah, you know, obviously there had been some stuff on Facebook and some Facebook posts making some charges against some people, and, you know, fireworks flying back and forth, and there was some of that. But I kind of expected that to come out through the voting process.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't know. The big controversy was when they tried to start the meeting with the credentials report. The first thing you do at any of these meetings, you got to have a credentials report. And if you don't get the credentials report, you can't move on. And that's what never happened. They never passed that credentials report. So essentially they never had a meeting.
Yeah. So this is one of those times that I wish I could have been there, because though I've been, you know, involved in politics or interested for a long time, as far as actually understanding these processes and the conventions and how everything is supposed to flow, I'm still fairly new to that.
Right.
So it would have been good to see, because, you know, I've talked to several people to try to figure out what exactly happened. And it's like you talk to this person and they have this version, and this person has a totally different version of what happened.
But I was there, and like I say, I'm not emotionally involved. I didn't have a candidate. I didn't really care which one.
So you would have been satisfied with either candidate?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one. And it's interesting we're talking about this because I'm sitting here and you've got this little pocket.
I know, I saw that. I was like, hey, somebody put this on the table. But I think these are always here.
If you've ever seen Robert's Rules of Order, that book's about
I was
that
going to
thick.
say, how did they get it all onto this little card?
And it says, Pocket Guide, Robert's Rule Order, Empowering the Grassroots. And this little card right here is probably responsible for what happened at that meeting. It's like everybody in that meeting has this thing memorized.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't further the cause. What it did, and it, like I say, it's interesting this is laying here because they tried to pass their credentials report, and that was the end of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
From that point on, it was I object, point of order, division, point of information. It just nonstop.
Yeah.
And there were motions made to overrule the chair. There were motions made to kick the parliamentarian out, and you know,
It's like madness. What country is that they talk about it? They get all heated and they're throwing things and all that. You see it on TV sometimes.
usually
Anyway, it's just
Italy,
crazy.
probably.
Yeah, it's something crazy.
Parliament in Italy, or so. Yeah, and like I say, this card right here, I've seen these at our meetings at the state level,
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what was going on. And the big controversy was there's these 5 at-large delegates.
Yeah.
And what you do with these 5 at-large delegates, they're for people that, Canadian County's got a YR chapter. Oklahoma County's got a YR chapter. Cleveland County, Tulsa County, the ones that have YR chapters send their delegates. Well, if you don't have a YR chapter, you can send a delegate, and they call them an at-large delegate.
Mm-hmm.
But they're only going to allow 5 of those in the entire state.
Okay.
Well, 30 of them showed up. So you divide 5 by 30.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of those 30 is going to get one vote, or 1/6 of a vote.
Part of a vote. And this is so for the audience, if that is confusing, the regular conventions, the regular Republican conventions also have like the precinct level. Each precinct has so many votes, and then if there's more delegates than there are votes, it's divided amongst the delegates. That's really confusing, I know, but that's how that part works. So on that point, this is in trying to figure this out, because my thing is, I'm like, I want to figure out exactly what happened. I'm a problem solver. Surely there's a way that we can fix this and maybe prevent it from happening again in the future. I know that's like the pie in the sky stuff. I don't know. But one of the things that that is being said is, well, it's not supposed to be 5 delegates at large for the entire state. It's supposed to be for the county. And
5 per county.
Per county for the ones that don't have an established
Right.
group. Okay.
Right.
And I don't know, because I didn't write it. I don't know what the original author intended, but so I have one side saying that it's supposed to be 5 per at-large county, and then of course one side is saying it's 5. They all those votes get 5 votes. So I don't know. Have you read it? Have you read the?
And that, yes, and that issue is what caused the gridlock, was the
Okay.
argument over that. So in my estimation, what should have happened was you pass the credentials report and then make a motion to do whatever it is you want to do and vote it up or down. They tried to merge the credentials report and this motion all into one.
Got ya.
And as a result, the meeting never ever even got started.
Yeah.
And it was just, like you say, chaos, people yelling over each other and all this stuff that's on this card. I heard
Point of order. Point of order.
Have you ever seen Barney Fife and Gomer on Andy Griffith when he says citizens array us, citizens? That's what they remind me of. Absolutely nothing got done, just a bunch of, and the saddening part is people came to that meeting from all over the state to witness that. Now we're trying to grow the party. Are they coming back?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. So we're going to take a break and we're going to continue talking about the Young Republicans Convention controversy. All right, we'll be right back.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here in the studio with Molly Johnson, and on the phone is Julia Bender and Hannah Silk. If you two want to say hello to the audience we got right now.
Hi guys, thanks for having us.
Hey everybody.
There's Hannah. So what we're going to talk about in this segment with you all is, what was your perspective on what happened at the convention last night? Starting with what the prior administration, how they were running the meeting, what you saw happen as the sequence of events transpired, and even if you noticed things before the convention happened, if there are anything of note, Molly, if you want to start off the conversation, was there anything coming in and getting checked in that you saw that you had in your head? What was that like?
Well, when I first came in, I thought it was odd they didn't have me registered. I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not, but there was a problem with getting me registered. And then I noticed as I was there for a few more minutes, there was a lot of secretive type conversation happening between the chair and other people.
Okay.
And I sensed a lot of tension, and I wasn't sure what was happening, but I did see several people walking up to one another and whispering and showing certain little pieces of paper, and
Okay.
it just
People
felt weird to me.
that you knew to be part of the leadership, or
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And do you know the names of the people that you
I don't know the names, but I know one in particular was the chairman. He was
John
Roberts. Yeah.
Okay. So Julia or Hannah, either one of you, did you see anything while you were registering or when you came in that you wanted to know?
The only thing that I found interesting was whenever Molly and I were trying to file to run for the separate offices, I as vice chair and she is national committee woman, they kind of just kept sending us around to different people.
Yeah.
So we never could quite get to the right person, and it took a while.
When I'm with you, there's no one else around. Yeah, I'm so high, gravity can't hold me down. Imagine faith and hope so alive.
Welcome back. Okay, so for those of you watching, feel free to comment and put all. I had put a question out there about, what is your opinion on this? Because I want to hear all sides of this. I know we say both sides, but I think there's more than just two sides to this. If you have an opinion, if you have questions, if you have an interpretation of the bylaws or whatever, I'm interested in hearing your opinion because I'm trying to sort this out too. There are pretty solid arguments on both sides of this, and I try to be an objective person, though I am very conservative. I'm also objective. Okay, so we were talking about how do you think so we're talking about the point of order and all the chaos and disruption. How do you think that issue should have been handled? Like if you were the person running things, how would you have handled that?
Well, in the final analysis, I think John Roberts did all he could do. He doesn't have the they would make a motion, he would deny it, they would vote to overrule it, then they would call this division where people had to stand up and be counted, and then they would argue about, well, you didn't count right, you're cheating in your counting, so they would recount, and just, I'm so sorry to say this, these are our young Republicans. It seemed to me like this is stuff you see on TV the Democrats are doing.
Yeah.
The Occupy Wall Street, just cause enough mayhem and make enough noise, it just gridlocked the meeting. And finally, John, he was like, guys, I don't know what to do. I guess we'll just close it down and go home.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a credentials report, you can't move forward. You can't do anything. And they could not even get past that first hurdle with the credentials report. And once you get the credentials report, you open the meeting, then you can discuss some of this stuff. But they couldn't even get to first base.
Yeah. One of my criticisms, and we were talking about this on the break, is, okay, so as Republicans, being conservative, ideally, we're conservative, we don't like there to be a whole bunch of rules and restrictions on things. We believe in the rule of law, but we don't believe in government overreach and a lot of rules and regulations. We are the anti-regulation rule party. But if you haven't seen the Young Republicans bylaws, okay, so this is them, and I was going through it, reading it, and there's one. I'm not an attorney, so I'm giving this criticism just simply from a end user here reading the document, and that is, this is not very well written because it is confusing. And I can see where on one side you have one group saying, well, no, it says this. But then if you look at it from another perspective, no, it really says this. And I can see both arguments. Sure. I can, because it's a poorly written document. So I just want to say, I think that the Young Republicans, the Oklahoma Federation of Young Republicans, need to, rewrite this. It needs to be more clear and concise, and address these issues so that there isn't this, rule out there that people you shouldn't be able, there should be no room for interpretation if you're gonna have a solid rule. It should be black and white. You know what I mean? That way you don't run into this issue. Because
But when you do, you have to look at tradition and
yes.
what have we been doing in the past.
And you have to look at the rules.
Does count for something.
Yes, and I believe that too. It is, for me, very hard to see what is going on, because it's how do we as Republicans fight the far left Democrats and in our own party? I mean, how do you manage that? I mean, it's exhausting. And I'm reading all these comments online, and I'm, you have you can look on Sooner Politics, and you have Jaron Jackson, and you have all these people out there giving their commentary on this, and everyone is an expert, and everyone knows the right way. And in the meantime, you have all these young people who are fighting and at each other's throats. So there's got to be a solution here. And what is, that guiding light? It should be our Republican principles, our platform. I mean, and then everything else really is secondary. I just wanted to say that because it is very frustrating. I hate seeing the division, because at the end of the day, we all need to be able to come together and get the most conservative person we can on the ballot and get them elected. That's what we need to do. That should be our goal. Any comments on that?
Well, that word conservative, we throw that around, and you take 100 people that call themselves conservative and ask them to define conservatism. They're all going to have a different definition. So I don't even use that word anymore, because no two people define it the same way. But what we've got to keep in mind, we've got to come up with 218 people. We've got 198 Republicans in the United States House of Representatives right now. We've got to come up with 218. We need 20 more. And that will stop. That's to take the House back. That will stop Adam Schiff and his committee, Jerry Nadler and his committee, Nancy Pelosi and the impeachment stuff. So we got to keep our eye on the ball. Like Reagan said, my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to get over this idea. People do it to me all the time. If I disagree with them on one issue, now I'm a rhino. And all these people in that room, they're sitting on this side and this side, and you ask them, what do you think about immigration, illegal immigration? The people on this side are probably going to agree with the people on this side. What about taxes? What about Donald Trump's tax cuts? Oh, yeah, the people on this side are going to agree with the people on this side. You know, what about the Second Amendment? The people on this side are going to agree with the people on this side. It's like, where's the disagreement? Oh, we're fighting over rules at the YR meeting. And what's going to happen next fall, next November, we come up with 217 Republicans, and CD5 in Oklahoma comes up short because we're fighting about nonsense. Everybody watching right now think, you know, that's probably right. Those YRs in that meeting pick the issue. Which one do they disagree on? And they probably don't. They're just fighting over rules and policy and procedure. Like you say, that's a poorly written document. Shred it and let's start
over.
Let's figure out how we're going to beat Kendra Horn. And I don't care who our Republican nominee is. We've got to get a Republican speaker, and we've got to get Republicans chairing those committees so Trump can do what he's doing, stop this witch hunt. So you can say, well, and I've got good friends that say, if that Republican is the nominee, I'm not supporting. You know, it's outrageous. Keep your eye on the ball. We need a Republican speaker, and we need Republican chairs of those committees to stop the witch hunt. Keep your eye on the ball. Both people on both sides of that room are wearing Donald Trump Make America Great Again hats. Are we wanting an outcome that helps him, or do we want to win that little argument at that meeting the other night?
Yeah. I know something that people
look long term. We've got to look long term. Play the long game. You know, don't win this one battle so it costs you the war.
Yeah.
Look long term, and that's my message to these, not just the young people. We have these same kind of problems at the state level.
Oh yeah, we do.
So,
okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at actually, we might watch the video on the break. That might save us a little bit of time. So watch the video on the break, and then we will discuss it.
Republicans convention was that some of my friends had told me that people who were former Democrats had registered as Republicans and were trying to import rules and ideas and different ways of doing things into the young Republicans. Now, I got to first state a few things. I am biased, just like everybody else, just like you. I am biased. I have my own judgments. Sometimes my judgments aren't founded on anything. Sometimes they are correct. Sometimes my gut is absolutely right. In this case, the idea was that I think one of the weaknesses of the Republican Party is its inability to stay current with culture. And because it has not and is unable to stay current with culture, I think it's especially susceptible to attacks from people who are trying to push the cultural envelope to change things from the inside out. And by that I mean people who aren't really interested in the ideas. What they're interested more so is in the cultural changes. And in this case, it's the LGBTQ plus AAIP LMFAO movement, where people are trying to they were trying to change the sexual harassment rules, where you could not, as I understand it, you could not discriminate against people who were transgendered. And if you walk that dog out, let's say that you, who are a woman, identify as a man, and you go to a young Republicans meeting and everyone calls you a woman, and you would say, no, you're misgendering me. Stop misgendering me. Well, that would be sexual harassment. That would be discrimination under, as I understood it, under
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
And we're back. Right fast, I'm going to give a plug for our Patreon. If you can go to www.patreon.com/OTUmedia, that is how you can support us, because we are really fighting a battle. We have to take back CD5. We have a presidential election coming up, and we here are boots on the ground, and we need money to help us with that. So please support us. Okay, that was my shameless plug. Okay, so Jaron Jackson is talking about Republicans who have switched, and they're Democrats who had switched and they're infiltrating the party. And then he also talks about this issue of the LGBT issue. How do you feel about what he said?
The Democrats switching to Republicans, I haven't heard that, and I've talked to, like I say, people that were on both sides of the aisle in that room. There was a deal down in Cole County where a couple people, but it wasn't the YRs, where they had switched, and there's actually a lawsuit going over that, whether they should have been seated at the state convention or not. So that's the only thing I know about is the Cole County case. I haven't heard that I haven't heard that from anybody.
That's the only one I've heard out of the young Republicans. I wasn't there, so I just wanted to get your objective opinion.
I didn't hear that from either side there. As for the LGB, that deal, I'm a real First Amendment person. Mm-hmm. And if a Republican wants to bring that to the floor of the state convention or the floor of the state Senate or the floor of the United States Capitol, bring it on. We'll have our discussions, and hopefully I can rally my troops better than they rally theirs, and we'll win the debate of ideas.
Yeah.
Not citizens arrested.
Hashtag let the people decide.
That, so, I mean, we say we believe in the First Amendment, but we're trying to shut a meeting down because we're afraid the outcome might not be what we want. Let the meeting start, get up and make your point, and hopefully win the hearts and minds of the other people in the room, and you win the argument. What was accomplished there? You cannot browbeat people into believing your way. Yeah. It's easy to run around and stir up chaos and get people mad. There's libraries of books written on the mobs and the mob. Mm-hmm. That's easy. Leadership and building coalitions and unity and harmony, that's a lot tougher.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see very much of it. It's easy to cause chaos, but what we need, because we need to win CD5, the long game is not just to win CD5, it's to win CD5 to get these people off Trump.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to do that.
That's the long game. So, yeah.
Okay, so I have another question on that same subject.
Feel free to interrupt me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm seeing the clock, and I'm like, we've got to, I want to get all of this in. Okay. I want to get your opinion on everything. Okay, so my understanding is that there was a group that was opposing motions on the floor. I want to make sure I get this right. Who they disbanded. So the original group, the first group, before the ones that left. Okay, right. when nothing was taking place, so they left. Okay, so my what I was told, and I don't know this, so I have to say I don't know this firsthand because I was not there, but they were mostly government employees, employees of elected officials, lobbyists, and campaign consultants that first group that left. That's what they were comprised of. Okay, did you observe that? And which I suspect I know your answer on that. But if that's the case, does that kind of give you pause at all as far as like what their motives might have been?
You're talking about the people that left?
Yes, the first group.
Oh no, I would not agree with that at all. And I'm not going to
ever
get involved in discussions about people's motives. Like I said, when I got there, I talked to people on both sides, and I knew that there might be a little contention when it came election time, but the meeting was over. They left.
Yeah.
And then the meeting that takes place in the parking lot, when you go to court, there's different burdens of proof. Sometimes it's beyond a reasonable doubt, mere preponderance of evidence. Supreme Court justices, they talk about raising the eyebrow standard, or it doesn't pass the smell test. Now back up from this thing just a minute and think, okay, we had this, point of order, I object, point of order, overruled for 30, 45, whatever it was. John finally says, you know what, we can't have a meeting, we're just going to close this thing down and go home. Those people leave, and the other guys say, all right, we're going to have a meeting in the parking lot, we'll just elect ourselves. Now, forget the rules, forget all that stuff. That doesn't pass the smell test. That's one of those things they talk about, that raises the eyebrow. Like, what is that all about? Really, you just have this argument, people just like John says, I don't know, I'm done, I don't know what to do. And that's kind of what he said, I don't know what to do. They close the meeting, the people that are left have their own meeting and elect themselves.
It'll be interesting to see, and I want to know your opinion on this too, as to what the outcome of this will be. Because I believe we're still waiting on a ruling or judgment or a decision from the national. I say we, I'm not one of the young Republicans, so we're not waiting, but they're waiting.
I think we are all waiting.
Yeah, we're all waiting. I think we all want to know what's going to happen.
It's important.
So, there's all these questions, and we won't have time to get into all of that as far as the, this one says that the parking lot meeting was legal because the first meeting wasn't adjourned per, I don't know if it's Robert's rules or if it was these rules.
But the first meeting never opened.
Oh, never
because
opened.
They never got the credentials report.
So
you don't have to close something that was never opened in the first place.
This is why we need for these rules to be shortened and to be more clear, because right now there's too many ways to interpret them, and we need it to be more clear and concise. So I think I had a question about how you feel about Luke Harshaw, and you've already actually said how you felt he's a pretty good, pretty solid guy. So what do we do now? So I think we kind of know how we got here. Maybe
this is a leadership issue. This is all about leadership, and for people like me and you, and in our spheres of influence, we've got to. And I talk to not just the young Republicans, I talk to everybody I know about this. We got to keep our eye on the ball and play the long game. And if you disagree with me on one issue, I don't start calling you Rhino. Like I said before,
I am not a rhino.
The people that are on the left side of that room, let's get a yellow Big Chief tablet out here and write out the 10 major issues of 2020, and let's see how many of those issues the people on this side of the room with actually disagree with the people on this side of the room.
Yeah.
And they don't. We're fighting over rules and terminology.
Yeah. I think there's a trust issue. I think that it kind of boils down to, so you have one side that views themselves as the true conservatives that don't trust that the other side really, they're true conservatives. So they don't trust that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, that they're going to pass the conservative, the conservative agenda. And then you have the other side that doesn't trust that the other side is going to be, bend and flex and understand and bring people in and not shut people down. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we have, it's a trust, it's like a marriage. There's a trust issue here. So what do we do? So they do need, I think that both sides need to get together. I think that it'd be interesting to see if we could get, hey, maybe you and I should tell them we should make it happen. So we're going to invite all of you guys to get together at Ferlin's house. No, but we
got to ask ourselves, do we want to win the argument? Is that what we're doing? Is there a real issue here? I mean, suppose Luke would have won over Matt, or Matt would have won over Luke at the YR meeting. 5 years from now, looking back, would we even know the difference? We'd know they were fighting about something and everybody got mad and there was a meeting in the parking lot, but what difference would it even make when you're playing the long game? I mean, if these guys win, what's going to happen spectacular? Or if these guys win, what's going to happen spectacular? What's the end game? It just really doesn't make that much difference. Now, it does matter that we take out Kendra Horn. That matters. That's a real.
That does matter.
Arguing over this nonsense is nonsense, but whether we take out Kendra Horn or not, that really matters.
Yes, that does.
That's
really
the
matter.
long game.
Well, so we're going to have to take a break, and normally I would take my break and do my close, but we're going to take a break, and I'm going to bring you back with me for my close because I want to ask you one more question specifically about CD5. So we'll be right back.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTUmedia. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTUmedia. Go to patreon.com/OTUmedia, patreon.com/OTUmedia. This is where conservatism lives and the fight is just beginning. Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. Are you tired of Big Mobile making deals with dirty DC politicians to amplify liberals and silence conservatives like you? Do you want the same quality of service that you get from your current provider without supporting leftist, anti-American subversives like Kendra Horn and Nancy Pelosi? Well, Patriot Mobile can help you, and they can make a great deal. Ask what Patriot Mobile can do for you, and ask what Patriot Mobile can do for your country. Call Patriot Mobile today at 877-367-7524. 877-367-7524. Be a patriot. Join Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back. And Ferlin's still with me because I had another question for you, but what I want to do is, okay, so one, on the CD5, Kendra Horn, we have to take her out. Any thoughts on any of the candidates running? I know you might be, I don't know, where I am, where I'm kind of seeing what happens with them.
Right, no, I haven't landed on one yet, and I assure you, whichever one wins, I will be supporting, and I think right now there's 5 or 6, and I'm not going to have any enemies.
Yeah.
Suppose there's 6.
Yeah, I think there are 6. Yeah, right
I'll
now.
I'll be friends with the other 5. I guarantee I'm not. But no, I haven't landed on one.
I believe that the people will do the right. I really believe we've got to put the faith in the people that they will pick the right candidate, and it'll be the person. And I know conservative is overused.
I don't know that the field is full yet. I've been hearing some stuff, and you have too.
Yeah.
That there may be some other people getting in.
People.
So
maybe Ferlin will be getting in.
Maybe Ferlin will not. But we're
starting rumors today.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll just have to wait and see. But I haven't landed on one yet.
Okay.
And the old 80-20% rule, I agree with all of them about 80% of the time, and I've got some disagreements with all of them, but that's fine.
Okay. All right. So since we're talking about the Young Republicans issue, what I want you to do with all of your wisdom, give the Young Republicans, these factions out there, what do you want to say to them to bring them together?
Well, with all my wisdom, this will be short. But I would tell them the same thing that I tell my friends that are not Young Republicans, that are just Republicans. Get that big chief tablet out and write down the 10 major issues. And your worst enemy in the Republican Party, find the issue that you disagree on. And there may not even be one. You know, it may just be the message, you know, and how we're delivering the message. And some people believe in leadership and build coalitions, and some people believe in browbeating their opinion onto you. And that's not going to be effective. But if each side would just write down the major issues and say, where's the disagreement? And if there's a couple that you can't come together on, go work on the ones that you can, like number one, winning CD5. That's got to be the primary goal. Again, there may be a candidate that I'm not totally in love with, but again, I would hate to be on 217 and know that Oklahoma lost CD5 and Kendra Horn is what is preventing Donald Trump from moving his agenda through the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah, we're not going to let that happen.
If we want to fight over Robert's Rules of Orders and this stuff, let's wait till after November next year.
Yeah, wait till it's not as, it's not going to affect anything. Okay, all right, so anything else you want to say on all of that? Because I was going to ask you about if you want to give your business a plug or anything. You want to talk about what you do?
Well, we sell cars and we buy cars. If you need to buy a car, call me. If you want to sell your car, call me. So it's a pretty simple deal. Everything I do, we got a transportation business, and you know, everything revolves around the automobile.
Yeah, which I have a son that is going to be 16 in about a month, and I'm going to need to get a car. So I'm going to talk to you first.
Well, I'm going to sell you one.
See, it's easy. Okay. All right. So I just want to remind everyone to go to patreon.com/OTUmedia and donate and help us out. We are definitely, I know it's overused, but we're conservatives. And at the end of the day, we're fighting for CD5. We're fighting for President Donald Trump. And that's what we're here for, and that's what we're all about. So please support us in that. And remember those 2 rallies coming up, the Second Amendment rally, which is November 1st at the Capitol, and the Let Them Live rally, which is a pro-life rally, and it's going to be at OCCC on December 10th, I do believe. But Dave Green, he's running for CD5, is putting that on. So very important stuff. Thank you, Ferlin, for joining me today. That was painless, right? And we will see you next week.